We do not have all of our normal crew today. We have a few people out traveling separately but simultaneously, and I can assure you with confidence that none of them have died in a plane crash, so everything's good there. But in light of that, we are going to do this week a little bit differently. We are going to focus more on the update side of things and do most questions next week when we have more of our normal crew, because it just makes a lot more sense to do it that way. For anybody who has not noticed, we put out what I like to think is a pretty big announcement today, which is our partnership with Halliday. So very excited about that. We're going to talk more about that a little bit later in this AMA. But also, if you do have any questions about the Halliday partnership, if you want to drop those in the AMA questions channel, we can go ahead and take those questions this week because we want to make sure we're talking about that anyway. But to start off, Pinecone and his wonderful and amazing accent has an update for us.
Well, yes, some time ago we deprecated the original addresses for the game API and the community API, community dev API. So I just wanted to mention that we're gonna retire those addresses soonish. So everyone should switch over to the api.defykingdoms.com address. We haven't retired it yet because people are still using it, so we didn't want any projects to be left hanging, but it's time to retire it now, so we're gonna go ahead and do that in a couple of weeks. Mr. Zipper is gonna post some details in the different community dev channels when he gets back from traveling, but I just wanted to mention it while I had the chance. Yep, that's all.
Awesome. Thank you much, Pinecone, and make sure that you don't bail on us because our community doesn't get to hear how incredible your bullishes are very often. So we're gonna need that at the end. Magnus, you want to talk oracles?
Yep, sure thing. So we've been working with Super Oracles for several months now to bring on-chain randomness to DFK Chain and Clayton. We've got some good progress this week. They've started to deploy their contracts on both of those chains, and we're currently in the testing phase to make sure everything looks good there. For echoing that out more broadly, the first kind of use case will be a few of our features that can really benefit from verifiable randomness. So more to come on that. I guess I'll keep going with the rest of my updates here, but I mentioned this last week, I believe, but I'll mention it again. We've moved one of our validator nodes over to a third-party managed service called Nirvana Labs. So we're kind of in the trial phase right now, but things are going really well. So exciting to kind of start moving our validator nodes to different locations for decentralization reasons. I've also been working with several folks in the community to help them get their nodes bootstrapped. One of the big points of confusion are the upgrade bytes, which aren't mentioned in some of the documentation out there. So in response to that, we're going to be making some updates to the docs with instructions on where to put those, as well as some recommended hardware specs. Our chain's running really fast, so may take days to weeks to sync, depending on whether you're running an archive node or a state synced node. So yeah, just being mindful of that. And as always, if you have any issues, go to the developer discussion channel. We'll be happy to help you out there. I know several people have posted, and there are probably some people who have run into the same problem you have, and you can check out what's been answered there so far. Also, Fox and I were on a community call in the Uniswap Discord yesterday to mark the launch of Uniswap on Avalanche C Chain. There's some folks from Layer Zero there on behalf of Stargate, which is a cross-chain DEX, as well as Luigi from Ava Labs. I haven't seen the recording link anywhere, but I'm sure it's out there somewhere. So We'll try to post a link to that if once we find that. But yep, that's it for me, other than the holiday stuff. So I'll pass it back to you, Bolin.
Thank you, good sir. Yeah, definitely. We're also keeping an eye out for that recording so that we can send it out a little easier. So if anybody gets their hands on it, let me know. Also, hey Fox, I wasn't sure if we would have you here today, but see, I told you all that that he was fine and safe. But Fox, I've mentioned that since we've got the smaller crew this week, we're mostly just going to do some updates. Probably be a shorter one, and then go back to some more questions next week. But we're going to be talking about Holiday here in a minute, but other than that, anything you want to talk about?
Yeah, no, I just want to say sorry for being a little late. I'm on the road, but happy I have the chance to hop in. Hopefully my connection's going to be okay. I'm super excited about Holiday, so this is going to be fun. Updates my side, just sort of working on the Bazaar and Season 5 for duels and stuff, so staying busy. That's all for me.
Anything you want to spoil for Season 5?
No, not yet.
Nice. I like it. Let's see. I was also authorized to mention that Second Best Dad has been working on some combat sound effects, but Sam doesn't know, so make sure you don't tell him. But I was allowed to share that, so I wanted to make sure I mentioned it. But with that, I do want to take some time and talk about Holiday. This is a partnership that I'm really genuinely super excited for. It's been something that we've been talking to them about for a little bit now. It's going to come in a few phases, but it's all about smoothing out and making a much simpler onboarding process for people who are coming into DeFi kingdoms, especially those who are not familiar with Web3. And then also, particularly in the later phases, about not only making the game itself smoother to play, but also adding some new functionality that we have not had before. So I'm super excited about this. Some of the first stuff that will be coming is the ability to social sign on and link one of your various social accounts to DeFi Kingdoms and use that to sign into DeFi Kingdoms, as well as automated wallet creation. So for those users that don't have a wallet already, particularly those who are not familiar with Web3, can automatically be generated a non-custodial wallet. It's still secure. The user is the custodian. It's a non-custodial wallet. I said that really poorly, but yeah, really excited for that, just because it makes getting into the platform so much easier than it has been in the past. But also things like session-based signing, to where you're not having to sign every individual MetaMask transaction or Holiday wallet transaction, for that matter, every transaction. It'll reduce the pop-ups and really help with like the flow of the game and the immersion, because you won't have those pop-ups all the time. So with that, I will hand it over to whoever unmutes first. Fox.
First, no digs. Yeah, this is, I don't know if you guys caught that, but the ability to have transactions get submitted without having to sign every single one is so huge. I'm so stoked about that, because it really just makes it a lot more seamless. This is actually one of the features that was asked a couple weeks ago in an AMA, and I was like, ooh, I can't say anything quite yet, but this is going to be huge. I anticipate a lot of people are going to probably end up using like multiple wallets just to play the game. In terms of like, perhaps they have a more like cold wallet per se that might have a lot of their assets. However, for actually playing the game, it's probably going to be way easier and more enjoyable to actually just move them over to your like DFK account, is sort of what we're planning to brand it as. And that will allow them to just basically sign in, and then once you're signed in, you just can do a bunch of quests and play the game as if it's any other actual game. But as you're doing that, it'll still be submitting transactions for you, and you'll still see the little spinner and things like that. You just won't have to actually open up the little pop-up every time. So I'm super stoked about this. I think it's going to be huge, and it's going to be really, really great for onboarding. because right now you've got such a big barrier to entry in the Web3 space. You speak with your friends or your family about this, and they go hit our website and they say, okay, how do I get started? And they hit play, and then it's like, okay, connect your MetaMask. And if they don't have MetaMask, they're just like lost, and they probably just basically give up. Even if they do have MetaMask, a lot of times it's hard because they don't have any assets yet. They have to like bridge those, which we're also in talks with a bunch of places about improving that flow. But yeah, I'm just super stoked about this. It's going to be really great for onboarding.
Very nice. Magnus?
Yep. I'm also very stoked about this partnership. So I've been talking about ERC 4337 for a while now, ever since I heard about it. Basically, that allows for account abstraction via a smart contract wallet. As most of you guys know, like typically people use either a hardware wallet or a wallet in MetaMask. But it's kind of limited because it's like one signer and one account. But this allows for some really cool different options. By going with the ERC 4337, for example, you can do social sign-in. You can actually like have that wallet, like you have it like another signer own that wallet, and behind the scenes are actually going to be using another provider to kind of manage that signer in a non-custodial manner. But it's really cool because there's going to be a lot of different tools that are going to be built around these particular wallets. It also allows for gas sponsorship, and Bolin mentioned social login earlier, which is kind of the flow we're going to be using. But I'm very excited because I believe it's kind of the future as far as UX is concerned, and it's going to be a core building block for a lot of cool things, and it's also able to be like kind of like swapped around later if you'd like to kind of like hand it over to like a hardware wallet as a signer, or if you want to like switch it back to your MetaMask wallet to be kind of like the owner of that wallet. So it's really cool stuff there. And then it also allows for things like basically like some delegated permissions, so you could like temporarily loan your hero to somebody else, and then they can do just a limited subset of things with it, and then hand that back to you whenever a time expires. Or it allows for a lot of kind of cool things to be built around that. Whereas if you have just a standard MetaMask or a standard hardware wallet, you're very limited in what you can do with that. So very excited about this from a developer perspective and a composability perspective, as well as the massive win of just easy onboarding flow and incredible UX.
Awesome. Yeah. So a few questions have come in on the Halliday side. So first question, would one of you fine gentlemen speak a little bit about the security side?
Yes. So I know on our call either this week or last week, Halliday is finishing up the audits for that. I know they're using a very strong audit partner for that. One of the kind of like bigger names in the industry, and then the team itself, they've got a great background in terms of kind of like technical prowess. I'm always continually impressed by the solutions they come up with, and the kind of like great lengths they go to implement things securely and in a good like user flow. So yeah, I'm sure they'll have those audits published once those get finalized. But yeah, they're definitely very concerned about the security, and always take that as one of the highest considerations, of course, because if you are basically exposing a wallet, you're exposing the entire gateway to all of the assets and inside of that wallet. So security is definitely paramount with this solution. That's one of the reasons we actually decided to choose Halliday over many of the other options out there.
I'd like to add as well that the ERC 4337 is actually an Ethereum standard, an official standard. So it's not something that someone has cooked up for this specifically. It's a standard that's spreading in the greater community of Web3. So it's gonna be scrutinized a lot from other parties as well.
Yeah, most definitely. And I also just dropped a link in the AMA Voiceless chat channel and pinned it. It is also in the Medium article announcing our partnership. But it's another article that Holiday put out a day or two ago talking a little bit more about the 4337 standard. So if, definitely check that out as well for a little more background information also. Let's see. Another one of the ones that came in. Let's see. So there's one. Oh, more details on what's possible in the timeline. Details about what's possible is kind of what we're going through. As far as timeline goes, I'm going to stick with coming weeks. But definitely, it's a shorter term, at least to have like the phase one. But it's something that we're looking at progressing pretty rapidly, as is Halliday. So very excited about that, but no dates just yet. We'll get to that later. There's another one more so about the like back end of the partnership. We really don't go into detail on any of our partnerships about that because they are agreements that kind of come with an expectation of confidentiality. However, the second part of that was, what's the benefit to Halliday? One thing that has also been great in our talks with Halliday is they see a lot of value in having this product available to our community because we have a large and active community. So, we are DeFi Kingdoms, and I don't have a less cocky way to say this, so I'm just going to put it out there. But people know who we are. We have a large and active community. We do a lot of transactions. We have a pretty good amount of visibility in the Web3 gaming space, and so that adds a lot of exposure to our partners as well, which is what we want. That's why we amplify them. That's why they're on our website. That's why they're in the castle, because we are big believers in, for the space to continue to evolve and grow, we need to work together. And that's our outlook on pretty much everything and the approach we try to take. Let's see. Will there be a fiat on-ramp with Halliday? No is the short answer. There may be some other stuff that comes as part of some of the later phases that has not yet been announced, but in terms of a direct on-ramp, no, Halliday is not an on-ramp provider. We are in talks with several on-ramp providers and hoping to also progress those things. But that's really all I think I can say right now. I guess I'll Fox Magnus, Mike, anything you want to add there?
Are we allowed to talk about the other thing? Yeah, we should probably just slack about it. But there's going to be really cool ways to get people on and into the game, and able to acquire heroes without having any existing assets. So I think it's okay to talk about because it's related, but I'm not going to until somebody tells me because I always drop too much alpha. So that's all I'll say for now.
Yeah, I don't know. It would probably be fine, but at the same time, where's the fun in that? We got to let people, think and stew for a little bit sometimes. But yeah, no, there's definitely more coming to with this partnership. This is the start point of it. But it is all stuff that we want to kind of have a continuous rollout of. So it's not, phase one now and phase two next year. It's just get this in place, make sure everything's working right, then move to the next part. So really good stuff coming there. Definitely still working on on-ramps. That is definitely still a priority for us. Like I said, we have a few that we're in talks with right now, but hoping to get some of that in place also in the shorter term. That one. Let's see. I thought there was another Halliday question. I think that's actually the ones that have been submitted so far. So, question that I have, because I am also not the most technical individual. So, we've been talking about things like, account abstraction and session-based signing. Before actually I ask the question that I started to ask, I want to ask a different question. One thing that we mentioned in the announcement, but have not mentioned here yet, is the fact that it is platform agnostic. Magnus, Fox, Pinecone, one of y'all want to talk a little bit more about what it being platform agnostic means for us?
Yep, I can address that one. So yeah, one of the really cool benefits of this is because there's a kind of behind the scenes magic that's going on to create a session and securely kind of assemble the pieces of your key. It doesn't really matter what if you're on a web browser or on a mobile device, for example, or what kind of like mode, as long as you're connecting to the internet and have like the security pieces in place, you can sign transactions way easier rather than having to have a MetaMask specifically. So it definitely enables some really cool game functionality by kind of like decoupling those two. So very excited about the possibilities that kind of making it not tied to a specific kind of like local signer allows. So very excited about that.
I'll also just throw in, and I probably missed the question. Sorry, it's kind of noisy here, but for those that are reading between the lines on the stuff that is possible with this technology, if you don't need to sign accept everything with MetaMask, and you can create a session that has a signer built into it, that opens up the possibility for many other platforms like mobile and things, and it lowers the barrier for us to get into things like the Android Play Store and Apple App Store and things like that. So it really opens up a lot of possibilities for us, which I'm super excited about. And I think Beetle Dude is excited about those too, but I won't steal any of his thunder. But it's just really, really cool, the stuff that we can do now.
Yeah, it definitely opens a lot of possibilities in the future as well. But even in the short term, that also means that for our mobile maxis, they'll be able to use their native mobile browser, correct?
Yeah, that would work just fine. After they sign in with their social, they could sign in with Google, they could sign in with Facebook or whatever, or even just an email if like you wanted to. Then you have a DFK account, and with that you can basically send assets there, send your heroes there, or whatever from your other account that currently has them. Or there's going to be other ways to acquire those things in the future as well that we're working on. If you haven't got any existing assets. And then you can basically just play the game without having to have a lot of annoying pop-ups all the time. And browsers, definitely. And also, we could see things like apps and things in the future. Other interfaces could be built for it, which would allow for sort of just smaller, easier to use ways to play certain aspects of our game.
The community is currently requesting that we make it playable on their Samsung smart fridges, which, technically speaking, would be possible. Might have a little issue with computing power, though.
Yeah. You definitely need to have it on your fridge.
I'm not sure what CPU's coming in the smart fridges these days, but we might be testing its limits. But yeah, no, just there's so many facets to this partnership, and the ways that it will benefit not only new players looking to come in, but also our existing players. And that's what's really cool about it. One thing that a couple people have asked is, do you have to switch wallets? No, you don't have to switch wallets. We are not going to stop supporting MetaMask by any means. So it's options. We love options, and that's really what it's about. And there'll be more on that to come, as well as some other ways that you can interact to make use of all of your preferences. I'll just say that. But yeah, this has been a really exciting process for us because there are just so many benefits to this partnership that it's really exciting to see it, starting to come to fruition and getting closer to putting out that phase one. So the second part of my question, and the reason I wanted to cover the mobile browsers first, was whether it's in a mobile browser or in a standard browser on a computer, a web browser. That's the word. When we've talked about the session-based signing, what does that actually look like from a player perspective? Fox, I know you touched on it a little bit in your original comments, but I just wanted to highlight that for a second of what it will actually look like from a user perspective using the session-based signing.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is all very conceptual. We're still working on the actual nuts and bolts of it, but this is all very much possible in how I envision the flow. Obviously, Beetle Dude's going to have the final say because he is the expert there and he knows what's best. And I'm just the person over here saying, wouldn't it be cool if we did this? So take all this with a grain of salt. But how I see it is basically you would hit our website, you'd hit play, you would say, okay, create an account. Essentially, you can sign in with your MetaMask or with Facebook or with Google or with your email. And it's very easy if you've used those for other sites to sign up, which I think probably all of us have. It's just basically a one-click thing, and you're in, and you have an account. That account basically means you also have a DFK wallet. It's not branded that way. We're not planning on calling it that, but basically it's a wallet that's associated with your social or with your email. And so that's your account at that point, and you would enter your name and select your profile picture and all that. Basically, you have now signed in without having to have any kind of MetaMask installed, and you have an address. And then at that point, there's going to be tutorials and things here's what's next. You can get this, you can get that. Part of that is going to be here's how to acquire heroes, here's how to acquire some of the power tokens and things like that. And we're planning to build in on-ramp solutions and things into that flow as well. So it's basically very much a create an account, enter your card, and acquire things to start playing the game. We even have plans to, if you don't want to put in a card, you can maybe try out combat or try out some other things. And if you enjoy what you're doing, then there's upsells along the way. So it's all kinds of really cool things to basically lower the barrier, make sure anybody who hits our site can just actually start playing and see what it's all about. So that's how I see it right now. Probably we would have the ability to link multiple accounts to your account. So for example, let's say you currently have a MetaMask and you want to create a wallet with your Gmail or something. You could basically theoretically have both of them connected to your same account and then very easily switch heroes or your assets from one to the other in game with a UI. So it's perhaps you sort of activate your hero to be able to quest on the session account rather than having to have the MetaMask always popping up. So that's an example. And then if you want to move it back, you can easily move that back as well. There's other cool things we have planned around that too, but that's sort of how I see the flow right now.
Awesome. And then you had mentioned earlier, there'll still be indicators that the transaction is processing. You just won't have the pop-up in between, basically.
That's right. So how this works is we were very adamant about making sure that we don't have access to anybody's funds. We don't want that. We want this to be very much non-custodial on our part. So basically, you create a session. We don't touch anything along that. We don't have access to any private keys. We don't store any private keys. And we can't submit transactions on your behalf or anything like that. You have to initiate the transaction after you've signed in. and then that will basically spin the spinner and submit the transaction and wait for the confirmations and all that, just like how it is right now, but without the disruptive MetaMask thing that will pop up in the middle. So there's probably things there that we might want to do in the meantime to be like, maybe we'd have an option where it's like show what you're about to do in game as an in-game confirmation, sort of like a modal or something, to say here's what you're about to submit, here's the gas. We could build that and then have it be optional if you want to just turn it off and be like, I don't even want to see it, I want to do it. Obviously that might be more risky if like the gas is higher or like whatever, but those are things we're going to work on, and I'm going to leave up to Beetle because he's the mastermind behind all that. But I think it's just really a lot more control over how that will look to the player and less dependent on external plugins in a certain like Chrome browser or something like that. It's basically all self-contained within our app, and yet still 100% secure and just easy to use.
That is super cool. I feel like I've said it multiple times, but I really just can't understate how excited I am for this. This has been one, we've talked multiple times in the past couple months in different AMAs about, onboarding being a big focus right now for us, and it is. And this is a giant leap forward. It's not even a step. So really, really cool to see. Somebody had asked about tutorials. We also have some tutorials being built right now for in-game. So that will also be a very complimentary feature as well, where you will have a little bit of a walkthrough of some of the key points, as well as some other educational stuff that we're working on as well. I won't spoil too much, but like I said, we've mentioned that it's a big focus of ours, and it is, and we're starting to see some of the work that we've been putting into getting things in place start to have things in place, which is always an exciting moment for us, and hopefully for all of you as well. I think that we have touched on everything that I had hoped to touch on update-wise, but I will pause. Is there anything either about the partnership or just anything else that we haven't touched on that any of you fine folks would like to? All right. Well, in that case, we will go ahead and wrap up for this week. Like I said, all of the questions that were submitted will be answered. We're just going to roll them over to next week, as we have to do sometimes from quantity anyway. So don't worry if you put in a question, we still got you. But we want to have more of our folks here so we can give more accurate answers. Let's see. What's my reminder right now? Don't ape into broken mechanics. But just really want to say that, appreciate everybody in the audience who takes their time to listen to our AMAs, the people that take their time to submit AMA questions for us to answer so that we can have these AMAs. Appreciate everybody on the team that takes their time to join these AMAs. You three got stuck this week being the only ones, but thank you. Really appreciate everybody on the team for everything that they're doing as well. There's a lot of work going in right now to our vision, and it's a lot, and we're gonna get there, and we would not be getting there without all of the work that is being put in, and without the support that all of you in our community give us. So thank you. We really appreciate y'all. Any closing comments from Magnus or Fox before we go over to Pinecone?
I was gonna let Magnus go first, but I guess I'll just reiterate. I'm sorry, but I'm just really excited about this. This is something that we've been working on for what feels like ever since we launched. I mean, if you guys remember, like the whole point of DFK was to make it easier for average users to understand how crypto works, and some advanced concepts like like LP tokens and staking and like rewards and things like that. But it's always been about educating and onboarding people into crypto, and this is just the next logical step, is to lower those barriers of entry, bring people in, and yet still be very much an on-chain game. Like they'll submitting transactions and like learning about what is crypto, what is blockchain. It's all going to be a part of it. So I'm just really stoked about that, and just also the user experience improvements. I'm going to be able to like really blast through my quests a lot faster and all these other things too. I'm excited for that as well. So yep, that's all from me.
One last thing, shout out to the Holiday team. They have been fantastic to work with, and could not ask for better folks over there either. So big shout out to them as well. I feel like I forgot to say that, and I apologize. All right, Pinecone, any closing comments? And then if you want to do the honors of bullishing us.
I guess there is only one thing to say, and that I'm really bullish.
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 Bullish. Thank you.
Thanks, y'all.